Good morning. Welcome everybody on this, let's see, this is Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday, October 21st. Welcome. Hey, Daryl and Suzanne, welcome this morning. Jim and Kathy, welcome. I just watching an owl just flew up into this tree right next to me. That was interesting. Wendy Chadwick, Stacy Riggle, good morning. If I missed any other names, I apologize. I got a little distracted there for a moment. Jan Atkins. It's funny. It just makes me laugh how each day it gets a little darker than the last day. So I feel like I'm filming this horror movie, because I got this light on me and it's dark everywhere, and it just sets this different scene than what I'm out here to do, and that's to inspire, not to scare. And anyway, just the way my mind works. Apologize for all that. Rochelle, welcome. Lori Agassi, welcome. There's my mom, welcome. Good morning, everybody. Let's see other names popping up. I see other numbers coming up. Steve Hauser, Steve and Andrea, welcome. Welcome, everybody. I love fall. I love the fact that everything's changing and it's cooling down. Deanne Fine, welcome. They're starting to put more layers on to be out here in the morning, but then it's pretty warm during the day. It's kind of an interesting time of year. I enjoy the changing of the seasons. Debbie King, welcome. So this morning we're finishing this section on Jesus addressing the idea of, the bigger theme of the Sermon on the Mount has to do with the heart, and specifically in the section we've been talking about, he's talking about hypocrisy and how with your prayer life, with your giving to the poor, and today we're talking about fasting, let not these religious acts be done simply to be seen by people so that you look religious, that you look righteous, that you look spiritual. And that's been just a common theme through the last several weeks that we've studied the Sermon on the Mount. And he's using the Pharisees as the example of the hypocrites who do this. And with today, I'm just going to read the passage on fasting in continuation of that theme. Jesus says, "And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites," and he's talking about the Pharisees. "Do not look gloomy like the hypocrites who disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head, wash your face, that your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who is in secret. And your Father who sees in secret will reward you." So all the righteous acts that we do, we just are careful to do them, not to draw attention to them, but to just do them for God. Have a sincere heart, has a sincere motive in all things. So that's the general idea, and Jesus applies to this common practice of fasting. And so it's hard to talk about this subject as much as, as far as Jesus addresses it. I want to talk about it more in the sense of doing it at all. What I mean by this is we talk a lot about the importance of giving and prayer, Bible study as our normal acts of righteousness that are done before God. They're kind of done in secret type of thing, to please Him and to seek Him, to dedicate our lives to Him. We don't talk a lot about fasting. So I just want to talk about that just for a second. What is fasting? Why would we ever do it? And this is where, we've recently, I'm just going to refer back to Jesus being led into the wilderness to be tempted, and He fasted for 40 days. Now, that's an extreme example of a fast. It wasn't that was uncommon to fast that long, but that is on the outward edge of the length of time of fasting. But fasting was a regular practice in the first century and previous to that, where it's the idea of denying our flesh and putting it in its place and dedicating that time that we would have normally been preparing a meal, eating a meal to God, as well as the desire to satisfy a basic need. Food, right? We all need food. It's not like we're indulging ourselves by eating. This is a very basic need. And so fasting was the idea of putting aside one of our basic needs for a period of time to dedicate our attention, our heart, the trust of the care for our basic needs into God's hands. So when Jesus fasted for 40 days, one of the temptations was, he had become hungry, and the devil said, "Oh, well then, if you're the Son of God, command that stone to turn into bread, and you'll have food." And Jesus said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." And this really captures the heart of why we would fast. And it is the act of trusting God for our welfare. So we are setting aside for a period of time something that is a legitimate basic need, not an indulgence, for the sake of saying, "God, you are all I need. If I have you, I am completely at rest because you know my needs before I even ask them." That's one of the things we've already talked about in the Sermon on the Mount, is God knows your needs before you even ask them. Don't pray. When we talked about prayer, don't pray like the Gentiles do, who act like God doesn't know what their needs are, that they're making him aware of that. God knows our need. He knows everything. He knows our heart's desires. He knows our wants. He knows our disappointments. He knows our struggle. He knows what makes us happy. And fasting is an avenue of worship that simply says, "God, I trust you. I trust you with my good. I trust you with the best for me." And I think I have an idea of what I need and what is best in my life. But ultimately, God, I know you know perfectly what I need. And so when I set aside these things, and it doesn't have to be necessarily food, it can be something else that is a regular part of your day. It's a simple spiritual practice to say, "God, you are my food. You are what truly will satisfy me. Nothing in this life will satisfy me like you. And I'm setting aside this thing that normally would temporarily satisfy me. And I say, you are my satisfaction. You are the one who I take delight in, that I enjoy." And food is just an example of that. I see that a couple of comments coming in what I think is Sierra, but it's commenting under Grace Fellowship. Social media. That's one of the more common modern ways of fasting is getting off of social media for a time, because it feeds a part of our I don't know if you. I'll say I'm guilty of this too. Is I have to actually physically put my phone far from me when I really want to concentrate on something. Especially in my morning devotional times, I can't have my phone right next to me. I want to check email. I want to check the news. I want to check something I missed on social media, and I think, I'm just going to glance at it. And for me, 15 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm still looking at my phone. I'm just wasting a bunch of time. And so, setting that aside, I have to actually physically put it far away from me sometimes, so my attention is focused on God. And so, and sometimes taking a longer, not just having it across the room, but saying, I'm not going to even look at it for a week or today. Just say, today, I'm not going to even spend any time on that. So that'd be a great example of a fast that says, God, this is something that captures my heart a little bit, and whatever it is, social media, food, anything, you can set it aside and say, God, you are what satisfies. You are the one that knows my needs, and I'm going to trust you. You are the one, you are all that I need. You are the one I'm going to dedicate my time to and give my best to. That's what fasting is all about. And it's a wonderful, great practice that should be practiced regularly in all different avenues. It's a spiritual discipline that simply has at its heart that says, God, you know my needs, and you are my bread. You are my food. You are the one that truly satisfies. And so I know in this context, Jesus is talking about don't do it. The assumption is everybody, you're doing it. You are regularly fasting. But I think in our culture, and especially our own church's culture, we don't talk about it a lot. And so I thought most people that's a nice story, but I don't fast. It's something that, okay, so when you fast, make sure we don't do it for the eyes of men. It's like telling everybody, yeah, I'm fasting from blank this week, and boy, it's really hard. And yeah, it's not that it's a sin to tell somebody, but the idea is don't make that, check your heart. Don't make that the purpose of why you're doing it so as to look spiritual. That's the point. But at the same time, do it. Fast. It's a great regular practice that helps us to focus our attention on where our heart truly is finding satisfaction. And I was just journaling about this morning, and journaling about what captures my heart. What do I attempt to satisfy my soul with that's different than God? And that's always a kind of a red flag for me. I'm like, okay, Mark, be aware that, don't deceive yourself. Yes, you're pursuing this or that, and as if that's going to be your lasting satisfaction. Be willing to set it aside, because God alone is my satisfaction. And so I don't know what that looks like for you today. I don't know, maybe it looks like a whole week of something that you're going to set aside. And food is definitely a part of that, an option. But it's a good, healthy thing as long as we're doing it for the Lord and not for the eyes of men. So be blessed today, and whatever it takes to zero in on the satisfaction that only God can give, focus on that today. Bless you, and this is a Wednesday, so we'll see you tomorrow morning.